not entirely sure how or where. Um, this on a couple of feeds to work out. This is using StreamYard, which I've described in the past, which is a going to be a replacement for what we've been doing with Google Plus. Now I'm looking at the moment on another feed, which is letting me know that it's heading out to various bits and pieces, and it's looking particularly smooth. And someone is watching, so I don't know where you're watching from because I've got this connected to Facebook, YouTube, and also Periscope as well. So I think it should be going out on multiple platforms, which is the intention. This is using something called Restream, which could be really handy for expanding the audience, which we get for the Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego shows on a Sunday. I know that I said in the title that this is going to be a little bit of a thing regarding Dark Crystal. I'll get to that in a moment. Good morning, David. I do like how we can kind of bring comments directly into um, the stream from Ohio, USA. Hello, David. Nice to have you along. Like I say, this is going out to various platforms. So if you are watching this on Facebook, perhaps jump in, let everyone know, but let us know where you're watching because I'd like to know how multiple platforms deal with comments because I'd like to try and get not only YouTube comments on screen but also comments from um, Periscope, from Twitter, and also from Facebook. So it's all down to how the whole thing is processed. But from the looks of things, it's looking particularly good. So this is going to be the kind of platform that we're going to be running the Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego shows for in the future. And hopefully, with the multiple platforms, we'll improve the audience as well, and more people can see what we do. We're going to be obviously covering more about New York Comic Con moving forward. We have our first episode on the 8th of next month, 8th of September, at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. So it'll give us a couple of weeks to really dive into what the guys at Repop have got planned for New York Comic Con at the beginning of October. So looking forward to bringing that all that to the fore, and also our coverage as well of shows like Lakes and also Thought Bubble here in the UK and other conventions around the globe. Of course, if there's any conventions and anything that you want us to talk about on the Hangouts, it's your show. So do let us know. Jump in on our social media, go to either our Facebook page or go to our Twitter channel at Englishman SDCC and let us know what you want us to cover. Because, yeah, it's all about you and your interactions and what you're wanting us to give you updates about conventions and Comic Cons around the globe. So please do let us know what you're up to. Like I say, this is literally just a little bit of a test. And I was just wanting to check about the way it's being restreamed. Are you watching this on YouTube? Are you watching this on Facebook? Are you watching this on Twitter, perhaps? Do let us know. While you're typing in your comments and letting us know what your thoughts are, I can kind of give you my thoughts, certainly on the first episode of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. I was a fan of the Dark Crystal as a kid. I've got one of the Brian Froud books upstairs. It's a story that I have always had a lot of love for. The one thing that I know that a lot of people had issues with the Dark Crystal is its very dense mythology. And Brian Froud, when he created the world of Thra and the whole mythology of the Dark Crystal, it is a very dense um, set of storylines. Now, with the Dark Crystal, it was kind of condensed. You had the Gelflings, you had the Skeksis, you had the Podlings, you had a couple of the races. This is more, I mean, it's a prequel, and therefore it talks about the age before the crystal and it talks about the way the power structure works within the Skeksis and the Gelfling and the different tribes of the Gelfling. That can be very confusing for someone who didn't see the Dark Crystal growing up. At the end of the day, it was a very niche um, film. It was a film which didn't do very well at all on release. Indeed, Jim Henson went into a period of very deep depression about the way that the Dark Crystal was received. It was an incredibly personal project for him, and it was something that he had a very intense desire, a story to tell. So for it to fail in the cinema really did hit Jim Henson very, very hard. It's obviously developed this massive cult audience over the years since its release, which has led to the Age of Resistance coming out. I will say it has a little bit more of that. It's still incredibly dense, but in its plus column, it kind of gets through it very quickly. It understands that it needs to do that. It needs to get that deep mythology out of the way. In an episode one, certainly for the first half to 2/3, it just goes, okay, let's just plow through this, and it just piles it all on. And it kind of works in its advantage in being a series. It's something you can come back to, and it allows it to breathe. But you do have that sense of, okay, let's just get this mythology out there. You might not remember all the words, you might not remember all the places, you might not remember all the tribes. You'll get there. And it kind of gives you, the audience, it trusts you to kind of just come with us. Just works it. Tom Cat, I can't quite pronounce that. Tom Cat Kevin 65. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Dark Crystal was a good idea. It is a good idea. It's a very strong world. It's right up there with Lord of the Rings, and certainly I know that sounds very glib for anyone who may have just seen the first film, because, like I say, it was just a very good fantasy film. This series very much demonstrates it is a complete world. The world of Thra has a massive range of species, Gelfling tribes, and a real rich tapestry of what its power structures are. But I think that's where the back third really works, because this also has some very strong stuff to say for us here on Earth in 2019. It's talking about corruption of power. It's talking about trusting of leaders and trusting what they tell us, truths, stories, and what you have to do and what you have to lose to kind of battle through that. You can totally take this story as something straightforward, but you can also take it as a dogmatic story. It's something that it's trying to tell. It's teaching us about where we are at the moment. I know I may be reading too much into it, but not from the speeches from the back third. This has something to say. But I'm finding that a lot with Netflix original material, that it's some of the stuff is very simplistic in its story, but it's trying to tell you stuff about AI, about the way that we're working towards future. And I think there's something going on in the background when it comes to the programming of Netflix and some streaming services. It's not just straightforward entertainment. There's other things going on. Like I say, I may be reading too much into it. I may not have had a great deal of sleep. And as you can see, I really could do with a shave. I really need to wake up, but I wanted to see what they had done with this. What I really like about the design as well, especially when it comes to creature design, they haven't gone mental and gone stupid with updating of creature design and character design. It's very much a bloke with his hand up a puppet's bum and moving lips. And yes, and this is what I'm doing. I'm talking to you like this. The backgrounds and the actual design of the world and some of the CG additions and the way that it expands the world, yes, that's very 2019. But the basic concepts, you could put this alongside the original Dark Crystal film and it would still hold up. And you can't say fairer than that. That's pretty cool. Just to let you know as well, David, who was watching or is watching from Ohio, that comment came in from YouTube, and Tom's comment came in from Periscope, which does mean that we are going to be able to get comments from the various platforms. That I like. This is good. That means that we are going to be able to reach more people and get more interaction with our audience, and I'm down with that. That's really cool. I'm also signed up with the full service of StreamYard, which means we'll be also be able to do stuff with graphics, be able to put some stuff in the corner, so I'll be able to demonstrate instead of me just describing what's happening with, say, for example, a process of badge buying, for example, or a exclusive that has been announced, or something that we want to show on screen. We'll be able to put that up on screen as well, which is good. It means that it's more interactive, and you'll be able to. It's not just going to be me waffling on like I have been doing for the last 12 minutes. So there you go. Like I say, this was just going to be a brief test of StreamYard and also of Restream, which is a multiple platform streaming process. At the moment, this is going out to YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. But any comments, anything that you want us to, any comments about the show, anything you want us to add to it as a content, any guests that you want us to invite, let us know, because I've been sending out piles of emails, and it's just a case of going through them and sorting out when we can get the guests on to talk about their various projects, talk about what cons they've been to, what cons they are doing, and basically about con culture each and every Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. I'm also really curious about where Periscope thinks that I'm streaming this from, because at the end of the day, I think this actually goes through a StreamYard server. So I think I think if StreamYard really takes off as a streaming platform, a lot of location setups may think that they're coming from the one server wherever the StreamYard are based. But there we go. Right, I'm about halfway through the second episode of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, and I'm going to dive in and continue watching this. If you do want to interact and let us know what you think of the show, head to Englishman STCC on Twitter and let me know, because I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this is a big show that has some important things to say, or is it just a cute show with puppets? Your call. You let me know. Right, I'm going to get off. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for this little test of what we're going to be getting up to on Sundays. More playing to do. Okay, take care.